Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today to discuss how integrating digital preservation with catalogues and other discovery platforms is benefiting the Preservica community, one of whom is the Royal College of Nursing. Fiona Bourne is the Archives Operational Manager, and Catherine is the archivist, and they're both based in the Edinburgh office, which I've had the pleasure of visiting and see how they operate up there. They both have a wealth of knowledge and experience, which we're going to hear about today. So thank you so much for taking the time to share your knowledge with us, Fiona and Catherine. We really appreciate it. There's a lot of work that goes into preparing for these events. So thank you very much for your help. Before we move on, if you have any questions, those of you that are on the call today, there is an opportunity for these at the end of the session. And if you look at your GoToWebinar toolbar, there's an area where you just type in your question and we'll cover these later on. So, I didn't introduce myself, did I, David? Silly me. Tracy Broadhurst. I look after the academic and local authority community here in our UK office. And I'm with David Portman, who's from our marketing team, who has organised this event for us, and we'll hear from David a bit later on.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone.
So, what will we be learning about today? We'll hear how our out-of-the-box integrations with catalogue systems such as ArchiveSpace, Calm, specifically today from Fiona and Catherine, and AdLib help save time, boost productivity, and enhance your users' experiences. And I think from my perspective as well, I'd like to put to bed the misconception that because Preservica is a commercial, off-the-shelf, out-of-the-box type solution, that it's not particularly open. But it is very much so. Our customers, our community are using our open APIs to integrate with bespoke or existing discovery platforms and aggregation services. Some of you might have heard of the DPLA, Digital Public Library of America, Digital Commonwealth, and so on. And customers are also using our OAI PMH for metadata harvesting. But let's hear directly from one of those customers. So over to Fiona and Catherine to hear about their specific digital preservation journey. Over to you, ladies.
Thanks very much, Tracy, for the introduction. Yes, we're going to talk about what we've been doing for the past 2 years. We thought we'd give you a little bit of background first, because probably not a lot of Royal College archivists out there listening just now. So as a professional organisation, we do a lot of work around best practice and providing opportunities for training post-qualification, sort of thing your own professional bodies would do. But we're also a trade union for nurses, obviously, so we do legal representation, and unlike most Royal Colleges, we have rather a lot of members, so over 400,000 there. We celebrated our centenary year in 2016, and our records do date back a little bit before that, but largely the archive is 20th century. Our records are mainly business records, as I say, around the origins and development of the Royal College of Nursing itself. It has been involved in a lot of professional trade union activities to do with the nursing profession in the UK. But we also try and balance that with some personal from personal papers collections and from oral history collections, which we do recordings of those ourselves. We have a variety of formats, although it is mainly paper. We have currently a focus, mainly for preservation reasons, on magnetic media and other forms of audiovisual that we are getting digitised. And we do have hybrid collections, so collections which start off way back in the 20s and run through into the 2000s and become digital collections right up to current. Our records extend back to 1998, by the way. Our main audiences, I don't know if you can see some similarities with your own organisation here, but our main audiences here are our staff, so the core corporate records, the governance records, the auditable records, the evidence, it's all there for them. And they do need access to quite a lot of stuff because we don't have a records management structure within the organisation. It goes straight from current use to the archive. The members of the organisation, so the people who pay their subscriptions to be members and take advantage of the different services that the organisation offers, they are very important to us because they're supporting us all. And then we also have a lot of public inquiries. These are optional for us as a private organisation, but we do take this very seriously. There's a lot of good information we can share with the public to promote nursing as a profession and the history of nursing in particular. So this diagram, obviously we're CALM users, that's been mentioned. This diagram shows our current setup. This is one we invented ourselves, so it's not a Preservica off-the-shelf one. Catherine very kindly put this together for us. Starting with the storage area for digital records, we created a digital sorting area on our local network. And then we currently use the put tool to create packages for upload into Preservica. In Preservica, packages are selected from the bucket and ingested into the system. And the bottom half of the diagram there shows very simply how the CAM integration works. The catalogue hierarchy and metadata is shared with Preservica from CAM, and any changes that you make in CAM to the metadata are updated in Preservica by a synchronization workflow, which you start in Preservica. The main driver for implementing digital preservation for us was a clear tail-off in records transfers to the archive, late 90s, early 2000s. And also governance users were making a lot of noises about going paperless, and we were a bit concerned about what that might actually mean for us. It was obvious that we were missing a trick somewhere because we weren't seeing the records that were being generated in the RCN itself coming to the archive eventually. And also we didn't actually know if the records were still there because we couldn't look across the networks. So that was a real sort of worry for us. We needed something that could replicate what we'd achieved with the physical records in the collections, including reaching into that records management process, as I mentioned, a little more than most archivists would probably be comfortable doing. But we're collecting direct from current users of records. We needed something that wouldn't require a high level of IT support because we couldn't guarantee it. We have quite a small team here. We need something that didn't cost too much initially to get started, and we also needed a product that would be a single point of use without the need for any other software to work in combination with it. We wanted to keep things as simple as possible. We've not got anything really super unique in our setup. This is all achievable without specialist help, and it really needed to be. So we chose Preservica when we had a look around because it met all those above criteria. But the two things that really swayed us were the customer service and support, including the really amazing user group, because this is much better than the experiences we've had with other IT companies over the years. Also, the focus for Preservica is on preservation. It's not just a digital asset management system, because there's plenty of those out there. It's about long-term preservation, migration, and also future access, which are all the things that I need to be clear about as an archive manager. When you're starting out, ingest is a small word, but it means so much. Having a product that incorporates ingest workflows is very helpful, as all the vital checks like fixity, virus checking, things like that, are all done as a matter of course during the process. CAM integration, I must admit, was far down the line really. It wasn't a deal breaker, but it's been an amazing bonus for us, being able to share metadata between the two systems, both for the archive team and for the users. It helps us get through things very quickly. Now Catherine's going to do a little bit about the CAM integration.
Thank you, Fiona. So in practice, this is what CAM integration looks like. So here, the image on the top left, we can see the catalogue structure in CAM for a series of records that we've got digital copies of in Preservica, which we can see in the bottom image. So with the CAM integration, the catalogue structure is replicated in Preservica alongside all of the metadata that we've got associated with each entry in the catalogue. The image on the right shows the properties of an asset in Preservica, and you'll notice that this is the same record as is selected in CAM in the top left image. So with CAM integration, when something is ingested, editing the metadata in the put the preparation upload tool to include the file's reference number will ensure that that item is linked to the catalogue. If an entry in the catalogue for that reference number already exists, then Preservica will link directly to that record. And if it doesn't, Preservica will create the records in CALM in the appropriate place in the catalogue structure. After ingest, of course, you can edit your catalogue entries. You might like to add enhance descriptions or amend dates. So you can do this in the catalogue as normal. And then the synchronization workflow that Fiona mentioned in the previous slide ensures that Preservica will collect this information from the catalogue so that up-to-date metadata is displayed in Preservica just as it is on CALM. So we have this sync set up automatically to run every night. And CALM remains the master copy of your metadata, so there's no need to worry about accidentally changing anything in Preservica and that overwriting what you've already got in the catalogue, because CALM will always stay as the master copy.
Okay, so we thought we'd talk about developing user access. Our diverse audiences require different levels of access, and that is partly to the dashboard and partly to the UA site. And of course, they need access to different types of records. Our executive team was prompted, they prompted our IT team to pay for the digital archive, so we don't have to do that. That's great, due to that lack of a records management level. We've gained advocates at senior level because they can now see directly the benefit of our work made accessible through different levels of access. For internal access, we're trying to follow the organisation's existing groupings of people. Our IT team have good ideas about data security, and we want to follow those. So we can use their list to help us provide internal access to different sets of records using Preservica's user roles there on the right and security tags. So we've tagged records, and we've also got the users assigned those roles in Preservica. That means that you can, for example, see governance is described there. So those are only available and accessible to users who have got that role. For external access, well, we always plan to use a UA site. And we actually ended up doing a lot faster than we thought we would. Initially, we just had a few collections on it. Then our library team started doing some really big digitization projects which needed to be hosted on there. And they are technically historical, so we did support that. One of these was a set of obsolete clinical publications that were taken down from the main RCN website because of changes being done there, but they still needed to be made available. We needed to ensure that people weren't using these as current clinical advice. So we had to investigate watermarking documents, and we also had to remove the download option from the site to stop people from taking these as clinical advice. One of the difficult things about this work was that we were working to other people's schedules. The web team shutting down the web pages on the RCN site, and the communications team not having storage to do any interim work, and the library team desperately wanting to maintain member access. So lots of different pressures there. We had the only tool available to meet these needs because Preservica does that. So the UA site became important very quickly, but not actually for the reasons we thought it would. We thought everyone would be bowled over by the archives on it. But anyway, I'll pass back to Catherine now.
So going back from current records back to historic use, this is where our CALM View site really comes into play. So you can see on the top right there an image of our CALM View site. We launched our CALM View 5 page last summer at the Axial user group. Functionally, it's the same as the previous version of CALM View. It just looks a little bit nicer, and we've actually made it look similar to our UA site just to keep things looking nice and similar across our online resources. So CALM View draws public fields from our CALM records. So it checks whether records are marked as draft or closed within the catalogue and shows them publicly if they are marked as such. The CALM View configurator lets you choose which fields from your CALM records are displayed online. So we chose to display the access URL field initially for all of the records that were public and displayed on CalmView. The access URL field is one which is generated by Preservica as part of the Calm integration, and it's added into Calm records that are linked to assets and folders in Preservica. Unfortunately, we forgot that Calm records marked as closed access will also have access URLs if they are linked, which when you select them without the correct permissions returns a not found error on universal access. So we quickly removed this field from CalmView using the configurator, and instead we added a URL field into our Calm records, which is just a hyperlink text field that Calm has as standard. So what we do now is actually copy the access URLs from that field into the URL field and make that URL field available on CalmView. And we're no longer using CalmView's facility for showing images or thumbnail fields. Instead, what we're trying to do is get people to go into the digital archives via the UA site, where they'll get so much more. So to have a look at how this works in practice, we have got a quick demonstration for you. So firstly, we will go to CalmView, which is our online archive catalogue. So let's say you've been researching your family history and you've discovered that your great-grandmother was a nurse at Manchester Royal Infirmary. So we'll have a look here what we can find. So here we've got quite a few results. The top two results here are actually badges that we have in the archive collection. These will have been donated as parts of the personal paper collections that Fiona mentioned right at the very start. Below that, we've got a series of records with reference numbers starting BM. Now you'll notice from a quick look at the descriptions that these are all postcards. So let's have a look at one of these. Let's go for this one. So clicking into that record will show us its description, its date, information about its size, its copyright information as well. So these are all fields drawn directly from our Calm catalogue, which we have decided we wanted to make available on CalmView. So you'll also notice there's a view digital image field here. So this is exactly the URL field from Calm that I mentioned on the last slide. And what you can also do in the configurator is change the display name of the field. So we changed it from saying URL to view digital image, just so it's a bit more intuitive for our users. So if I open that up, we can then see that image on our universal access site. So we can have a browse of that. You'll also notice at the top here, we've got some of the catalogue metadata again drawn through from Calm. So now we're on UA, we might think, oh, this looks interesting. Let's have a look around and see what else we can find. So we will navigate up a level. And this takes us, as we can see here, to a series of Northwestern region postcards. So we can see here there are lots more images of items from the collection for us to browse. So if I just go back to CalmView to show you how this is replicated on the archive catalogue, if I click onto the reference number here, we can see that same series of postcards displayed in the hierarchy browser, drawn directly from the catalogue. So we could choose to have a look at another image here. Again, we can see the date information, description, and then if we wanted to have a look, you can click, of course, straight through. Don't have to open it in a new tab. But that's why you do, because sometimes things go wrong. There we go. So we can have a look at another postcard there. and we've got the descriptive information. So our hope is that once people are on our Universal Access site, they will enjoy having a look and a browse of what else we've got on here. So let's have a look at Browse Archive to see what else there is. So you'll see that we've got a range of different collections on here. So we've got a number of personal papers collections, of photographs, diaries, letters and things that we have digitised. We've also got a couple of collections of corporate papers as well. One of the really useful ones on our Universal Access site is this collection of digitised annual reports. These are really well used by our colleagues in the library team who help us out by answering some of those historic inquiries that we talked about earlier on. So let's have a look how they might go about using this series of records to answer an inquiry. So let's say we are looking to find out when the RCN registered to become a trade union. So what we can do in this instance is use the search within option here, so that will search just this collection of annual reports. So we will have a look for trade union and register. And because our colleagues in the library know an awful lot about the history of the RCN from all of the inquiries that they answer, they would already know most likely that the RCN registered as a trade union sometime in the 1970s, so that might help them narrow down which report to have a look in next. So we'll go for this 1976 to 77. And we can now see the report is displayed here. So we can, rather than having a read through, we can save even more time here by using the Find in Document option. So if we have a look in here for trade union, because these reports have been scanned with OCR, with optical character recognition, we can navigate straight to the information that we want here within the report, and then we found quite a lot of information to answer our query within the report here. So again, you'll notice at the top we've got metadata pulled through from the archive catalogue. So we've got the date obviously of the report, the reference number as well. And these are all linked to the catalogue. So to just demonstrate that again, if I go back to CALM and go to advanced search this time, and I already know the reference number for the reports is RCN2/3, so I will search that. You can see there we've got the series of annual reports and accounts, so I can click into there, click on the ref node to browse that record in the hierarchy, and then I can pick 1953, for example, and then we've got again information pulled through from the catalogue, and we can have a look at that specific report there. And again, obviously, if we were searching for something specific, we could search within as well. So we're always working on promoting universal access internally as well as externally. We're constantly adding new collections there as well, and keeping people up to date as and when we do. The benefit of universal access, one of the many benefits, is that even colleagues who don't have a Preservica login can still use this site, because obviously it's public to explore our digital archive. So for example, our comms team have identified images from our universal access site that they've wanted to use on social media and the RCN website, and then they've come to us asking for a copy of it. And of course, what we've got available on Universal Access is only a very small selection of everything that we've got in Preservica. And within the RCN, we're working on recruiting super users in departments across the organisation. And these people will have access to Preservica Explorer and will have logins. And by using tags and roles, as Fiona mentioned earlier, they'll have access to their own records only. So that means that these internal users will be able to browse, search and use their historic records in their own time without having to come via the archive team. We've got a couple of examples of recent enquiries that have been answered this way. So these include a couple from the governance team who were interested in fact-checking results of RCN president elections for a speech, and also confirming dates of emergency general meetings that have been called throughout the RCN's history. Having all of this information in one place and fully searchable within Preservica is so beneficial to both the archive team and the organisation, and it saves so much time. So on just those 2 governance inquiries that I mentioned, we probably saved about a day of the archives team by having the full text search and everything in Preservica at our disposal. So we will go back to the presentation. And I'll pass back to Fiona to tell you a little bit about one of our current projects that we're working on.
Thanks, Catherine. That demo went really well, thank you. We're working on a second UA site, and that might sound a little bit crazy, but one of the things that we wanted to do was deliver a member-only UA site as well as the public one. Looking back at our audiences and what I mentioned there, members are a significant part of our work, and obviously there are GDPR issues around member activity and showing members doing particular trade union work and that sort of thing. So we found that we could really tick a box in terms of organisational transparency and for the governance team and the senior management. And we can also get our executive team to buy into funding digital and coincidentally historical projects like our annual Congress AV digitisation project we've just about finished. These are largely because people want to know what their organisation is doing with their subscription money, and it's very tricky how you do that when you can't say who members are publicly. So we worked with Preservica to introduce a second UA site which has SAML access login in front of it. For those of you who don't use these, SAML access is something that talks to our membership database, which obviously has a lot of GDPR issues for access, and it confirms whether or not people are members given the detail that they log in with, and then it tells our UA site that yes, they are a member, and it gives the details. But we've told the database not to tell them their membership details, because then they would need a Preservica login as well. We've told them just say this person is a member, the one person that is the member. So it has worked that way. Everybody who signed in is one person and has permission to access records that are tagged as member, as well as records which are tagged as public in this second UA site. So this, as I say, prevents Preservica requiring login details for each and every one of them. We certainly couldn't do that for over 400,000 members. We can barely, manage that for 900 staff. We're really keeping the logins very, very tightly controlled. So it also means that we don't have to maintain any membership data on a separate database, which might not be as secure, and also has its own GDPR implications. So I don't know if any of you know how the first UA site would work, but there's an RCN anonymous user, which is the user that logs in straight to the public site. So we had to recreate a member user for that. The second site looks exactly like the public UA site, so you don't really notice that you're in a different place. It just has a slightly different URL. So we're considering how we could add a member-only URL field into CamView as well. That might be an additional thing that we'll do, and use it the same way as we did with the URL field for public records, except this would link to member-tagged ones, and you would get the login page same as usual. but we weren't entirely sure how that would work, so just an idea for now. But the actual setup of the member UA site is underway. It's being tested by our IT team at the moment and should be live hopefully by April. We're very grateful to Preservica for following through with this new development with us, because we realised it was a bit of a big ask having to rewrite something like that, and they've been very supportive in helping us along the way with this. So just to sum up, we're an accredited archive, and part of the archives accreditation report that you get with your award is recommendations for things that you could do some work on before you have to renew the accreditation. These first 3 items are those. It highlighted the issue of records management and data retention policy being lacking within the organisation, and it highlighted that at the senior level, which is very good for us because we're then seen to be part of the solution. Collecting and preserving records, obviously things that we were concerned about losing. That's something that we wanted to continue doing. So we had started it when we got our accreditation in 2017, but they just wanted to make sure that we continued down that road. And also that our web pages have increased the provenance of the archive to be much more like the library service. Despite the fact we're a much smaller team, we're certainly not a smaller collection. So that's really good. Other things that it's really helped us with, well, I mentioned transparency and accountability provided for the members. They're our stakeholders, so that's very important. It also raised the profile of the archive with senior management through the super users' work, helping them directly with their key records. We extended the digital archive to encompass the RCN library collections, which increased our visibility. And we also improved working relationships with our IT team. The archive team have changed their ways of working. We've become much more integrated, working between digital and physical formats in the way we think about things and apply theory into practice. We've also got lots of future potential to open up different collections using UA. You'll have noticed there's a heavy emphasis on digitized collections rather than digital born collections, but there is nothing to stop us putting digital born collections on if we decide that is the way to go in the future. We'll pursue new ideas like document delivery services and integrating feedback and analytics into our work as we go along, just whatever comes along with the next project. And some of the other benefits of integrating Preservica and CAM specifically are time-saving things like sharing metadata and also having that structure replicated so you don't have to recreate things in the 2 different pieces of software. The opportunity to link online resources, as demonstrated with the UA and CAM view, has also been an incredible benefit because I don't think we would have really got the same level of web presence as we have now if we hadn't done that. It's been very, very popular. And we just included a little picture of our team as of January. There's Catherine and me in the front, Nessa Rowan right behind us, and Sophie Bell just behind at the first door there. That's the archive team. The rest of them are librarians, but they do help us every day. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was really, really interesting. I've learned some bits and pieces there as well. Particularly liked how you were sort of toggling between the CALM system and then showing the Preservica system with all the other documents and so on, the OCR annual reports and so on. It's really nice to see how they link together and the benefits of both, and hearing about your super users as well, because I hadn't heard about those. So thank you so much. That was very interesting. I'm sure everybody else on the call would have found that really useful, and we'll probably have a recording of this up on our website, David, won't we, at yes, some point, because all that CALM information, I get asked a lot at presentations about more detail on CALM, so that will be accessible to people and really helpful to them. So thanks for going through that as well, Catherine. That was great to see things live as well and properly in action. And thank you for the compliment on the user group, which brings me to a picture of our user groups. As Fiona said, we are very active with our user community, and I think you're both coming to our one in Oxford, aren't you? Oh, actually, you'll be on mute.
Yes.
Oh, you
Yeah,
are.
we are.
Hurrah! Yes, on 31st of March and the 1st of April. So that's our one in the UK in Oxford, our international user group, and we also hold an event in the US, which is going to be in Chicago. Is it, David?
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's our North American or global user group.
And is that in August?
Yeah, it's in August, in line with the SAA conference.
Ah, perfect. Yeah, of course. So across the world, we've got over 250 customers using Preservica, but thousands of users. And at our Oxford User Group last year, we had over 100 customers come to that event, which was fantastic. And again, as I say, they listened to case study presentations. A big thing, though, is influencing our product roadmap. And the upload and preparation tool is a classic example of our users saying we don't want a presence on our desktop. We want a way to have just a browser-based upload facility because we have problems with IT, downloading apps to the desktop. So we created this upload and preparation tool, which you can just drag and drop information onto. And I think that was on one of their slides earlier on. So we do listen to our customers. Customers vote on what enhancements and features they want to see in the product, which is very important. And we have customer forums, we have technical sessions and so on. So we do think it's really important that our customer base is active. In particular, I wanted to point out, just based on the theme that we're talking of today, is a couple of customers here that I work very closely with. One of those is Manchester, that have got a couple of interesting projects. They are integrating Preservica with quite a well-known discovery platform so that some of their assets are discoverable and accessible through that particular interface. So they're using our APIs and so on to do that. They're also on a second project, which they launched a week or so ago. They're integrating Preservica with a new IIIF viewer, which is called the Manchester Digital Collections, and it's based on something called the CUDL, Cambridge University Digital Library. And if you're interested in this project, I can share the URL with you, because again, it's a great project, and Preservica assets are going to be coming through that as well. Nottingham University, another customer, they are not only integrating with CALM, like Royal College of Nursing, but they've also got another project to link their discovery platforms with Preservica so that their assets are accessible from multiple entry points. And I think that's the thing here, is making sure that the public or your members can get access to your information, not just through Preservica, but other discovery platforms as well. And then Bristol, another customer who are integrating with 2 CALM systems. And with other customers, we're working on Atom integration, which will be the 4th of our out-of-the-box catalogue integrations that we offer. And some of you on the line might be using Atom, so watch this space for more information. We're also working with customers to decommission Lotus Notes and putting all their emails and metadata into Preservica, and also on auto-harvesting data from things like OpenText and SharePoint to bring those assets directly into Preservica seamlessly. So Preservica is open. There's lots of possibilities to make your assets accessible by multiple discovery platforms, catalogues, and aggregation services. And later on this year, we'll host more events where we'll have a speaker from Manchester and a speaker from Nottingham who will go into a lot more detail about those particular projects. So that leads me nicely back over to David to explain how you can keep up to date with those events. And then afterwards, we'll open for questions. So over to you, David.
Yeah, thank you, Tracy. So yeah, we will move on to questions. So if you do have questions for the team, either Fiona or Catherine or Tracy here at Preservica, then please do pop them into the questions tab on the GoToWebinar toolbar. You can hear from a whole range of customers across the academic community on our website. It's preservica.com. We've got customer video testimonials and stories. There's blogs, and there's also webinar recordings. We've got live demos coming up. So there's one on UK time this Thursday, the 20th of February. And there's also one on the 5th of March, 2 p.m. Eastern. And that gives you a bit of an overview, a flavour for the system, and some customer examples included in that demonstration as well. As Tracy said, there will be more in this academic web series, so stay tuned for invites for that. Catalogue integration resources, we do have a dedicated web page on Preservica. If you head to preservica.com, under the products section, you'll find that. It's full of detail from the benefits of catalogue integration, covering a lot of what you've seen and heard in the webinar today, through to some case studies and examples, including a webinar recording and a blog from the University at Buffalo, New York, and their integration with Archive Space. There's also a how-to video for Archive Space and another a whole range of blogs as well. You'll all find that on the website. So Tracy, I think we'll go over to questions now. So we have had a few come in. So let's just...
And I'm going to stand up so that I can read the questions. So if we go up, we've got one from Rosie here. I recognise Rosie's name. We've spoken in the past, Rosie. So Fiona, Catherine, to yourselves. When you said that archive time had been saved due to other members of staff being able to fact check for themselves, was that quite a culture change you had to promote? And Rosie's saying she can't imagine our comms team, for example, looking something up themselves instead of coming to us. So would you like to comment on that, Catherine or Fiona?
Hi, it's Fiona here. Yeah, I completely see your point there. What I was kind of meaning was that there, for general inquiries that come up, our library team are now taking the front line on that. So the other day they wanted some urgent biographical information in the comms team. They went to the library, which, as I say, has more staff, and they were able to deal with it for them because we had got the information into the system. It was all there, ready to roll, and they knew how to use it and access it. They also knew it was an obituary, so that they also knew there was a photograph in there, and they knew whether or not it was okay to use in terms of copyright clearance because of what we put in. So it saved us having to deal with that. But we do also have those internal users who are accessing their own files, really. So they're very, very sort of focused on one particular area, which is why we've really drilled it down for them by tagging just their stuff, because they know what they're looking for almost better than we do. So we've got very few and far between of those users, but we're increasing the numbers as fast as we can. I hope that answers it.
Perfect. And if there's anything else, Rosie, you want to know, do email me and I can pass on those questions to the ladies. We've got another question here from Barbara. I think you might have covered this though, but I'll just read it out just in case. How did you pick who your super users would be? Did you already?
Okay, so I don't think we did actually, but really good question. So two things really. We went on contacts that we already had, because at the beginning Fiona explained how we do a lot of kind of proactive collecting from across the organisation, and obviously to do that we've had to make contacts within departments to enable the kind of transfer of records from them to us. So that was one way. Another way that we've done it is using IT's access groups that they use to kind of control which people within the organisation can see which folders. So that was another way of kind of getting to the crux of who the people were that are maybe the administrators within departments and who the people are that are kind of controlling the records within those departments.
Occasionally you will find that a senior manager or director will throw somebody under the bus to go and learn about it, and that does help us because when they come they find it is remarkably easy and their fears go away.
Mm.
Yeah.
But it's quite a nice process because, particularly for the contacts that we've already had, that we kind of recruited as super users, to show them. So what I tend to do is do a screen share with them, because we're not at in the same office as most of them, and kind of log into Preservica and go through it with them, and they can actually see their own records in Preservica. So it's nice for them to see where all of their stuff is going. And often they're very keen, as Fiona said, to actually kind of log in themselves and have a go.
Yeah, no, that's
so we find it works really well.
Yeah, no, that leads on to another question that we've got from Michelle here, asking if you'd done a survey of users. So I think that any sort of feedback from the users on this.
One of the things that we are planning on doing is a bit of UX testing with just internal users, starting with our library team and working out to some of the other departments. That is planned for sort of February, March kind of time this year. So it's a bit slow in happening. We had to kind of jump in there and guess initially because of pressures from other projects. So largely, you know, they got what they got. But we are going to try and tie in much more feedback from people. We're also doing a focus group from members on CamView and how that works with UA. Again, slightly later this year, hopefully we'll be able to then see what we can change and what we're going to have to put on the development list.
Fantastic, thank you. I'm just aware of the time and we're slightly over the 45 minutes we like to stick at because we know everybody's busy and appreciate you spending time to come on the call today. I'd just like to reiterate again from David and myself a huge thank you to you both, Fiona and Catherine, for a brilliant presentation. It was excellent and so lovely to see live systems working as well, and you put a lot of effort into that, so really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
We're very keen to answer any questions anybody has going forward, because I realise that some of these things only occur to people as and when they're doing tasks, so please do get in touch if you wish to.
Oh, that's fantastic, thank you so much. And to get in touch, there's the way you can do so on the slide in front of you, or you can email me directly, tracy.broadhurst@preservica.com. But for now, that leaves me to say thank you very much for joining us today. We hope you've learned something new and we look forward to speaking to you again at one of our webinars in the future. Take care, have a good rest of your day.